Hey guys, we're going to be working on your week for Storm Chaser. It is a story about a little girl who goes on an adventure with her dad. More to come on that. We're going to be working on a summary at the end. A summary is going to tell the main events that happened in the story. So pay attention as you hear the story to those big important things that happened, that one thing leads to the next. And there'll be 3 events here, it says. It says our characters are Emily and Emily's dad. Our setting where the story is taking place is Emily and her dad need to put down probes near a tornado and stay safe. Probes are little machines that are going to go into the ground and collect data from the wind, and tell like how strong the wind is, things like that, for the tornado scientists. Over here, we're going to take what we write for our events that tell how the story happens, and we're just going to write a little paragraph and transfer it over. So just like it says, we're going to fill in the empty boxes, write a summary about the story on the right. Okay. The other part of the assignment is 3 questions. We will get to those at the end. And then there's some words in our glossary. These are words that we might need to know what they mean, or we might not understand the story. So one is barometric pressure. Barometric pressure is how much pressure there is from wind. I'd have to look it up to be more precise. But it's about tornadoes, so it's talking about how much power there is and how much pressure there is in that wind. The next one is budge. So if you don't budge, like if you stay still, don't budge if someone pushes me. So here's my friend. If he runs over and jumps into me and I don't budge, I don't move. If I budge, I kind of moved a little bit. Okay, so budge means to move a little bit. Usually when you're pushed, you get budged. It's like a pushing motion. Funnel, that's like, car mechanics have those, and you pour liquid into it and it makes it go down into a funnel. So it can get into a container with a small lid and you don't want to spill it everywhere. Intact means not broken. It means together. So in and then tact. So together. Meteorologist is someone who studies weather. A probe, I think, is a little tool they use to study tornadoes, and they put them in the ground. It's a little machine. Rotate means to turn. Rotate. Let's rotate, my friend. Rotate. Rotate means to turn. Sensor. You can see the sensor on my computer screen. Watch this. The sensor can detect when I am close and when I'm far, so it changes the color of the screen because the sensor is being affected. So the sensor could be a bunch of different things, but in this case, the sensor detects motion or movement usually. Skid. I think you know what that means. If you skid, you like go to stop and you don't, you go and you skid. So I do it on my bike a lot. Sturdy means it's built well. It's not weak. So if I'm sturdy, it means I've got a table that's very strong. I can put lots of stuff on it. Its legs are good and it's not rickety and rocking. It's sturdy. My house is sturdy. It's not going to blow down from the high winds. It's sturdy. It's strong. Okay. Tornado. We know what a tornado is. It's the winds that are really super fast. Unpredictable. I like that word. It has a prefix on it, which means not. And then the next word is predict, which means to be able to tell something's going to happen before it happens. And then able means able to do it. So unpredictable means you're not able to predict when it's going to happen. So unpredictable means you can't tell when it's going to happen. Unravel means something that's raveled is like wound up tight. I'm trying to think like a cord. So like if you have a rope, and if you actually have a little rope I can use, probably in here somewhere. Bet you I got some ropes. I can show you something unraveling. You know what might work better is actually some. Okay, so this is raveled. It's all wound together. When something's unraveled, it means it's coming apart. It's not wound together anymore. It's unraveled. Okay. Ah, there it is. Can you see it? All right. You get the picture, right? This is unraveled. And then I can ravel it again by twisting it back up and putting it back together, hopefully. See, now it's raveled. Okay. So unravel means coming apart. All right. Vehicle. You know what a vehicle is. If you don't know what a vehicle is, then I don't know what century you live in. Violently, that just means it's tearing things apart. Usually things that are violent are very destructive. So violent is destructive. All right, so those are the words that we're going to need to understand when we hear our story. And today, to help me read my story, is my friend. I haven't given him a name. He's just Black Dragon because he's black and he's a dragon. So I call him BD for short. All right, Black Dragon, you're going to help me out. Oh, yeah, you know I love to read me some stories. That's right, bud. Let's do this. All right. So who do you want to be? You want to be Dad or do you want to be Emily? Dude, I want to be the Dad. All right, you could be Dad. See that, Emily? Dad points as he speeds toward the greenish underbelly of a monster cloud. That's the laboratory for a tornado. Really? Dad and I have been looking for tornadoes all week from our small van. He opens his window and points across a wheat field. I follow his finger and see a ragged chunk, dark as midnight, extend from the monster cloud. What is it? I ask, trying not to sound worried. A tornado forming, Dad says. I know that tornadoes, or twisters, are dangerous columns of fast-moving air shaped like funnels that rotate violently. I think of those pictures I've seen of the damage tornadoes can do once they hit the ground. Pickups turned upside down, trailer houses lying on their sides, barns torn into splinters. Dad loves tornadoes. It's true, tornadoes are awesomely powerful. He's a meteorologist, which means he studies weather for a living. He dreams of thunder, lightning, and twisters dipping down from the sky. As part of his job, Dad drives across the Midwest searching for the kind of storms that produces tornadoes. He says tornadoes can happen just about anywhere in the world, but the worst ones happen here in the United States, right between the Mississippi River and the Rocky Mountains, in an area called Tornado Alley. Let's go, he yells. Whoa, all right, let's go. Usually Dad's weather tracking partner is here to take pictures, but he's at a weather convention. I talked Dad into letting me ride along in his place. Dad didn't like the idea at first, but I kept reminding him that science and photography are my favorite subjects. Finally, he gave in, and here I am. Dad turns the van and starts to drive. My mouth falls open. We're heading the direction of the twister. The twister is now closer to the ground and has thickened into a squat black funnel. Once it hits the earth, the twister sucks up everything in its path. Suddenly, I realize that it's heading straight towards us. Dad sees the fear in my eyes and smiles. It's okay. I do this all the time. We'll just put the probes in place, snap some pictures, and be on our way. The van skids to a halt. Dad jumps out. I follow with the camera and start clicking away. Ah! Don't fall off, Dad. I lost my place when I was taking my pictures. Dad plops down the probes. They look like orange frisbees with pointy heads. Inside, data sensors digitally record the tornado's temperature, barometric pressure, wind speed, and direction. After the tornado has passed, Dad will drive back here, find the probes, and then download their information onto his laptop. The probes are tough enough to withstand anything, even if they are tossed about. The data stays intact. The tricky part is placing them directly in the tornado's path, because twisters can change direction within a matter of seconds, missing the probes entirely. With the probes in place and my shaky picture snapped, we scramble back inside the van. Dad grabs the steering wheel and backs up, hoping to turn around and speed away from the tornado. Suddenly, I feel the wheels start spinning hopelessly. Dad switches the gear from reverse to forward, but we don't go anywhere. For the first time in my life, I see fear in my father's eyes, in my father's face. We jump out of the car and try to push it, but it doesn't budge. Rule 1 of tornado safety: never stay inside a vehicle. Not during a tornado, not for protection. A car, a truck. Either one can be a death trap when a tornado hits. We gotta get out of here, Dad yells as he shuts off the engine. The fact that he sounds scared frightens me. Rule 2, if you're caught outside with no buildings nearby, find the nearest low spot like a ditch. The problem is we're surrounded by flat fields. Then I notice a barn. First, the wind attacks, carrying loose soil. I hear the dirt rush between the boards, flowing around us, clogging the air. Then something hits the side of the building, something big enough to make the boards clatter like broken teeth, and I close my eyes. The barn creaks like it's being stretched apart. Then the wind changes, shifting into something beyond a roar. It charges over the prairie, clawing the roof above our heads. There's a dry shriek as the boards are ripped loose. The beast bursts through this newly made hole, roaring into our shelter. It whirls about, tossing dirt and trash everywhere. I wait for the rest of the boards to be pulled loose and tossed into the sky. Fence posts were snapped off and tossed about. Wheat and weeds were yanked out by the roots. Thankfully, our van is still in one piece, but now it sits at a crooked angle down in the wheat field. I snapped a few pictures. We searched for the sensors. The data is still intact, and tonight Dad will study it. With this kind of research, meteorologists believe that they will one day be able to better track the unpredictable tornado. Being Dad's storm-chasing partner has been thrilling, but I think I've had enough excitement for a lifetime. Aw, come on, honey. Don't you want to go again? It was fun. No, I think I'll pass, Dad. Thanks. Now we had a chance to hear the story. We're going to talk about the 3 major events that happen in the story so that we can fill out our summary of the story. So looking at our story map here, we had 1, 2, 3 events, 3 big, really big things that happened in the story. So we had to know what was happening in the beginning, basically, the middle, and then the end, like the really big things. So when I went back and I was looking at the beginning of the story, and you could read along, what I noticed in the first page is that we're discovering who Emily is and who her dad is, and they're telling us, they're basically telling us the setting, and they're telling us what they're doing. So what is Emily and her dad doing in this first part of the story? They are looking for a tornado. It says down here, it says, "See that, Emily? That's the laboratory for a tornado." And then the next paragraph had said, "I've been looking for tornadoes all week." And over here, I was thinking to myself, why does he have his daughter in that car? And then they explain why. It says he let her ride along because her friend wasn't there, and that they are heading in the direction of the twister. So in that first part of the story, the main event that's happening is that Emily and her dad, okay, um, had been looking for and found a tornado. Okay, and they're heading towards it. So that would be the first event in our story. So I'm just going to make it kind of like, I'm going to turn these into sentences over here. This is just my notes, my ideas to help me write when I try to write. Okay, so these are just my notes. Okay, so the first thing that happened in the event was Emily and her dad had been looking for tornadoes and they found one. Okay, so that was the first main thing that happened. They were out looking for tornadoes and they found one. There's a lot of little details and everything that I left out, like why is she with him? Those are not important to the summary. Those are details. So summaries are short and just very kind of not detailed, just the big main ideas. Okay, so then the second part of the story on the next page, we have our second event that happens, and I think you guys can remember what happened. They got out there, they were putting the probes, and they were, right in the path of the tornado, and we see that Dad had popped down some probes. She was taking some shaky pictures, and then when they got back in the vehicle, what happened? The wheels started spinning and they could not go anywhere. So that is the next big event that happened. And that is what would go in event. Event 2 is Dad and Emily, Dad's truck, the vehicle. The vehicle was stuck and the tornado was coming. Okay, so the vehicle was stuck after they placed the probes. I should probably add that in there. I'm going to put a little star because I should put that first. After they placed the probes. Okay. So the vehicle got stuck after they placed it in the probes, and then the next thing we know that happened in the last part of the story, she had noticed a barn. You can see she had noticed a barn. And so they went and ran and hid in that barn. They were trapped in there. They were trapped in the tornado. It was very scary, but they did survive, and they were able to get the sensors, and they were still intact with the information. So the third event there would be how the story ended. They got trapped in the tornado. They survived. The data from the probes, they collected. Okay, so you just write what happened at the end of the story. All right, so in the end, they hid in a barn. Okay, during the tornado, violent tornado. After it passed, they had survived and they picked up the probes with the information. Okay, or data, with the data with information. So I never use these little boxes. I write way too big, so I just write on the outside when I don't have enough room. I'll probably not have enough space to write my summary over here, but we're gonna try. Maybe I'll try a finer tip pen. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my notes into an actual paragraph, a summary. Let me get a pen here that is sharp. There we go. Okay, so it's basically, it started for us already. It says Emily and her dad need to put down probes near a tornado and stay safe. And the characters are Emily and Emily's dad. So a summary, you would say, in the story, Storm Chaser, okay, because you want to introduce to your reader what it is you're writing about. You're writing about this book, okay? So I'm going to have a small indent right here. because it's my first sentence of a paragraph. Okay, in the story, yep. Storm Chaser. Okay, so in the story Storm Chaser, okay, Emily and her dad need to put down probes near a tornado and stay safe. That part's already written for us. We just put it in there, okay? So in the story Storm Chaser, comma, Emily and her dad need to put down probes near a tornado, and now I'm going to add this in, near a tornado that they had discovered, okay? Near a tornado that they had discovered, because that introduces the first event and tells me the setting and the character. So that works to put it all together right there. So in the story Storm Chaser, Emily and her dad need to put down probes near a tornado that they had discovered. Okay. So the next thing is in orange here. And it says the vehicle got stuck and the tornado was coming after them after they placed the probes. So now I need to put that into my paragraph here of my summary. So I would explain, like if I'm explaining to the reader, they need to put down probes near a tornado that they had discovered. While they were putting down the probes, while they put down the probes, their THEIR vehicle got stuck. Okay? Period. So now we're going to add in the last event that had happened. So their vehicle got stuck. And so now we're going to add the last part of our paragraph, just right here. I should have used blue here and pink here, but that would have made too much sense. All right. So while they put down the probes, their vehicle got stuck. They were trapped. They hid in a barn. Okay, so they were trapped. They hid in a barn. The tornado ended and they survived. And they survived. They had done their job. Period. So their job being collecting the data, getting the probes, and bringing that information back. So that's just I probably should add that in there, but I don't know where I put it. The tornado ended and they survived. They had done their job. They collected the probes and went home. That's what I'm going to say. They collected the probes and went home. All right, and lastly, you have your 3 questions. The first one, why does the narrator's dad chase tornadoes? A, he studies them as part of his work as a meteorologist. B, he's a daredevil who likes to be in extremely dangerous situations. C, he makes a lot of money selling video footage of tornado destruction. So make sure you go back into your text. This is a literal question. It is right there. The answer is right there in your text. So make sure, even if you think you know the answer, I want you to find it in the text and prove it, okay? Number 2, what problem do the weather probes most likely solve? So those probes they're putting into the ground, what problems do they solve? A, there are so many tornadoes happening at one time that a single person has to use a lot of probes to keep track of them all. B, it is too dangerous for a human to stand inside a tornado and gather all the necessary data. Or C, meteorologists believe that people will have more respect for their data if they collect it with fancy machines. So why do they use those weather probes? Think about that. The problem is that tornadoes are really violent, powerful things, okay? So we have the solution of being able to use a probe. Why is using a probe a good thing? All right, and lastly, the text evidence question. Which storm safety rule are the narrator and her dad following when they leave the truck? Okay, so what storm safety rule does the narrator, the little girl, and her dad follow when they leave the truck? Are they A, find the nearest low spot like a ditch, B, if possible, seek shelter inside a sturdy building, or C, never stay inside a vehicle for protection? So which rule are they following when they leave the truck? Okay. All right, and that's it. See you guys next time. Don't chase any storms. Those seem kind of scary, okay? Only do that with somebody who knows what they're doing, or just don't do it at all. All right, take care.